Okay, we're going to start with chapter 12, Service Response Logistics. I've done something different in this chapter than I've done the entire term, so now I'll know which one of you is actually watching the videos and the lectures and which isn't. If it's on the test in this chapter, I put a blue star by it in the PowerPoint, and it's only in the PowerPoint that's loaded here. It's not the PowerPoint that's loaded onto Canvas. And the reason is there are 61 slides in this chapter, and I just think that's a very lot of material to cover when it's only part of the test. So I want you to know the things that I need you to focus on. So let's talk about service response. We're going to talk about Starbucks a bunch in this chapter. Also, like a hair salon is a good example of this. We're going to talk about how supply chain management in a service differs from supply chain management in manufacturing. We're going to talk about service response logistics and figure out what that means. We're going to talk about service layouts a little bit, not a lot. And we're going to talk about how you manage capacity, wait times, distribution, and we're going to talk very extensively here about Disney. So here's what you're going to be able to do when you're done with this chapter, and here's a little quick overview of what we're going to go over. So if we start on chapter 5, we say many services are pure services, but they don't have offering few tangible. So tangible means something you can hold in your hand, product. So very first question on the test, I should have a blue star by this one, but a lawyer, an entertainer. These are people that only offer services. You're not going to go to a lawyer and also buy shampoo. You're not going to go to a lawyer and have them fix something for you and also, buy a product from them. So others do have a tangible component. Like you get a service at a restaurant, but you could also buy to-go food, or you could buy wine or beer and take it with you. You could also go to get a service from a car dealer or a mechanic and have them give you parts as well as the services that they're going to give you to make the repair. So a lot of times customers are involved in the production of the service. So what that means is if my head is not at the beauty salon, I can't get my hair cut. So I'm involved in the production of the service. So services may provide state utility. We talked before about place utility and time utility. State utility is about I can't go to the doctor unless my body is there. So state utility means I own the thing that's going to be serviced. Developing countries are becoming very much more increasingly service oriented. They're starting to be willing to pay for more services than ever before. And it's a huge role in the global economy. All right, so this is one of the questions you need to answer on the test. It's a one where you need to type the answers in. I ask you for a few of these. The differences between goods and services. So if we want to consider for the case of this, we're going to talk about goods being a bottle of shampoo and services being a haircut. So I cannot inventory the haircut, but I can inventory the shampoo. So a service cannot be inventoried. A lot of times services are unique, like an insurance policy or a legal service, but also the haircut I get and the haircut you get are going to be different. Services have a high customer service interaction. Generally, there is interaction between the person that's getting the service and the person that's performing the service. And services are decentralized because I cannot say, I'm going to run my beauty salon and I'm going to have everyone work in Houston, but I want to cut people's hair in New Orleans and in Dallas, right? That doesn't make sense. We cannot transport services easily, and we cannot inventory them. This is math, so don't worry. But what I want you to understand about productivity here is if I have 5 people cutting hair at my salon, and each one of them can do 2 haircuts an hour, so that would make 10 on the top, 5 on the bottom, my productivity would be 2. So you just want to look at how much did I actually do, how many people did it take to do it, and that's your productivity. It's an easy math problem. I just wanted you to understand how you calculate it. All right, Beaumont's disease is on the test. This means as you become more productive in your country, the tendency towards services becoming less productive is high. So what that means is that the more you become a service economy, the less productive let me say it a different way. The more you become productive with your services and I'm not explaining this well. Productivity in manufacturing is going to mean that generally your need for services is low. That's a good way to explain it. It's in the book. If that doesn't make sense to you, and I'm very sorry if I've confused you. The Walmart effect is also on your test. And this is a multiple choice question about the fact that there is so much information now in all the systems that gives you information about inventory, about buying patterns, all the information that they can get, that you can get huge productivity growth rates because you know what to expect people to buy. So you know how to buy your inventory more efficiently, your supply chain is optimized, etc. That's called the Walmart effect. All right. Improving service productivity is challenging. I think we talked about this a few chapters ago, and I said you can only make so many peanut butter sandwiches before we got to do something to make you more productive. It has a high labor content. Things have to be done individually. It's hard to automate them, and it's hard to say, I wanted about a tablespoon of peanut butter in each slice of bread. I don't have an easy way to measure. Did this one get 0.95% of a tablespoon and this one got 0.1? I mean, it's just very difficult to figure out quality when you're looking at a service. Did you get a better haircut than I got, even though we went to the same person and basically have similar haircuts? It's hard to tell. All right, so global services are increasing everywhere, and it's making a lot of issues that have to be dealt with. One is the cost of labor and the infrastructure that it takes to support that labor in those facilities. Some of it is legal or political use. People in the United States don't generally like to buy or do business with countries where they don't feel that the labor laws are fair, or where they feel like the political situation is unstable. What the economic climate looks like and what the local competition and the state of the economy locally looks like in the other countries. Sometimes that's hard to see from the United States if you're here trying to run your business, and figuring out who the global customers will be. All three of these are on your test. I'm going to ask you what the 3 service strategy development strategies are. I'm going to ask you when you should use each one of these. So I think there's 4 total questions here. One is, what are the 3? Cost, leadership, differentiation, and focus. And then there's a question about each one of these. So if you say, I'm going to have cost leadership, that means I'm going to be the least expensive. You usually have to spend a lot of money to get automation such that you can get your price down. Differentiation is how someone like Sewell Cadillac or a high-end Louis Vuitton purse or a very expensive piece of sports equipment, they say ours is better, so you should just pay more for it. And then a focus strategy would say, we only make tennis rackets, or we only make golf clubs, or we only make whatever it is. And so we have a very small product niche, and we do it better because that's the only thing we do. Cane's is a good example of that. So Cane's only makes chicken fingers. And what they say is, our chicken tenders are better than everybody else's because it's the only thing we do. We're better than Chick-fil-A. We're better than Popeyes. We're better than everybody because we don't have burgers. We don't have salads. We don't have any of that. We have chicken tenders and that's it. Or like a Buffalo Wild Wings kind of place. All we do is wings. We don't have pizza. We don't have hamburgers. We don't have all that other stuff. We have wings. That's what we do. Okay, so there is a bundle of attributes that you need to understand, the combination of that makes the service delivery system. So what are the services that they offer? Like a bank says, we're going to store your money, we're going to use your money. What facilities do you need to support that? So you want the bank building, you want a drive-up tellers, you want an ATM machine. What are the other things, the facilitating goods? So the deposit forms, the monthly statements, all the things that they're going to give you, maybe an online service. And then implicit services are, you trust that if you put your money there, they're not going to let your money get robbed out of the bank. They have insurance. They're going to be private with your information, that they're in a good location, etc. So service delivery systems kind of go, and this is on a continuum. So there are things like Chase Bank that has tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of customers, and everybody pretty much gets treated the same. To all the way at the other end, if you think about a very expensive high-end restaurant where you would be greeted by name, they would know your order, etc. So service location and layout strategies, this is on your test. You want to figure out, where do I want to be? Do I want to be across the street from somebody who does the same thing as me, or do I want to go into a location where there isn't a business that competes with mine? You want to look at it as a sort of midterm decision because you're spending a lot of money to build a building, maybe move from another, etc. And you need to figure out what are the things that you can quantify that are real, and try to do as little decisions based on gut feeling as you can. They say reduce intuitive decisions. You really want to try to quantify this is $7 an acre, this is $5 an acre, which one do I want? I mean, you want to look at very specific things that you can map out and judge with a weighted scorecard rather than I really like the location of this and I feel good about it. That's not a good way to make a decision. Okay, so service layout strategies are usually set up so all the people in the department are the same. So when you walk into a store like Macy's and they're going to sell you something, you expect that all the shoes are in the shoe department and all the dishes are in the dish department. Services are no different. If you're going to have all these people are going to be the people that wash your hair, we want all them together. We want all the people that are going to cut your hair over here. We want the people that are going to do color over here. We want the people who are going to make your coffee all the way at the end of the Starbucks line, and the people who are going to heat up your breakfast food or your lunch food all the way at the front end of the line because it takes longer, right? So that's what service layout strategy is about. A closeness desirability rating is about, hey, marketing works all the time with service. Marketing works all the time with sales. Let's put those departments together so people don't have to walk, back and forth between two different buildings when they work together all the time. That's what closeness desirability rating means. So services are, we said earlier that people, they interact very closely usually with their customers. So think about someone's cutting your hair, someone's cutting your lawn, someone's cleaning your home, someone's doing your taxes. All those things would be services. But there's also facilitating products. So in order to clean your house or cut your hair, your cleaning service needs a vacuum cleaner, or your barbershop needs a sink to wash your hair and a chair for you to sit in and scissors and all those things. They're not part of the services that you sell. They're very similar. Facilitating products are very similar to MRO products in manufacturing. If you remember maintenance supplies, like I have to have paper towels and things like that, repair, operating, those kinds of things. So customers have no idea how they get to the destination, but they sure notice when the shipment is late. So it's very true. If you went in to get your hair cut and they said, hey, we're going to have you stand up today because the chair that we normally cut your hair in broke and the next one hasn't come yet, you would leave. You would never stand there and let someone cut your hair for 20 minutes. So very important, although not part of the service that's actually sold. This is an example of everything that we just talked about, just to give you some ways to read about so you know what we're talking about, some examples. So I've given you some. You should be in good shape. Okay, so service qualities. The perceived level of quality that a customer gets is the most important concern usually to most people at service. So most people that are performing a service want you to think that you got 5-star experience every time. Part of many companies now is, are they green? So it's part of that service quality may include a sustainability element. Some not, but some yes. Okay, this is on your test. The 4 primary activities of service response logistics are, and we're going to talk about what each of these means. Managing the service capacity, managing the queue time, the distribution channels, and the service quality. So let's talk about service capacity. Service capacity is the number of customers every day that you can serve. So if I say I have 5 people that work for me cutting hair, each one can cut 2 heads of hair a day. So that means every hour I can do 10 haircuts. I'm open for 8 hours a day. My service capacity is 80 customers a day. If everything's working perfectly and nobody's late and nothing bad happens, I should be able to, my service capacity should be 80 haircuts a day, because 5 people times 2 haircuts times 8 hours a day. That should be 80 haircuts. So you have to figure out, maybe on Tuesday, you're only going to do 30 haircuts. But on Saturday, you're going to have demand for 100 haircuts. So what can you do? One of the things you can do when demand is more than you can do is you turn customers away. Another thing you can do is you can say, get in line. We're going to be a while. Don't take appointments. Another thing you can do is hire more people. Another thing you can do is hire people to do things that help the people that are doing the job get done more quickly. Maybe somebody else checks them out and that takes 5 minutes off the end of every haircut so that you can get a little bit more ahead of your schedule. So you have to be able to forecast what you're going to need and when you're going to need it so that you can make sure you have the right amount of service staff there at the right time. This is a formula. You don't need to know this, but you need to understand how you can calculate what your capacity is. This is that thing I just said, which is 5 people times 2 haircuts an hour times 8 hours equals 80 haircuts. Optimal capacity should be about 75%, and they say that because that lets somebody walk in the door that doesn't have an appointment and you can still take care of them. Okay, this is for sure on your test. 3 questions. One is, what are the 2 basic strategies for managing capacity? You need to tell me level demand and chase demand. This is exactly like we talked about in manufacturing. Level demand says the capacity is the same regardless of demand. I'm going to have 5 people here cutting hair every day, doesn't matter, 8 hours a day. When we get more than 2 people for each person wanting to have their hair cut, we just have to deal with some queue management, and I'll talk to you about that. Chase demand says on Tuesdays I'm only going to have 3 people come in, and on Saturdays I'm going to have 6 people come in because I'm going to figure out how to manage my capacity so that my demand and my capacity are about the same. I don't want a bunch of people here on Tuesday standing around when there's not going to be enough demand to keep them busy. So chase is that the capacity varies with the demand. We're going to chase the demand with capacity. Level is we're going to keep it the same no matter what. All right, managing service capacity. This is very important. This is on the test, and I've asked you some things that you cannot, that are not part of doing it. So make sure you understand what these are. But some things that you can do when there's more demand than you have capacity. You can do 80 haircuts a day, and you have 100 customers. You can cross-train employees. You can use part-time employees. You can use customers or self-service. You can say, hey, there's an iPad up there. Just push your name in and it will automatically check you in, and we don't have to have somebody sitting at the desk to check you in. You can use technology. That's something I just said as well. You can use employee scheduling policies to say, I want more people here on Saturday, or I want people to come in or be on call, that kind of thing. And you can use demand management techniques to try to say, I'll give you a $5 coupon if the next time you come in, you come on a Tuesday, because you know that's a slow day. If you notice in restaurants, a lot of times they have Mondays and Tuesdays, like kids eat free or something like that. It's because Monday and Tuesdays are traditionally the slowest restaurant business days. Okay, I meant to hide this slide. You don't need to understand slide 33. I've hidden a bunch of these. I did show you this, but this is exactly what I just said. This is some ways to say I'm going to have different numbers of part-time and full-time people come in on different days because I have different demand on those days. Okay. This is also on your test. So managing queue time. So I want to talk to you a little bit about 2 companies that are really good at this, Starbucks and Disney. Managing the amount of time you wait in the line is very important. But the most important thing to do if you're a business is to make the person think or perceive that they've waited in time less than they actually have. If you've ever been to Disney, you think you're at the front of the line to go on a ride, but you're not. You're at the front of something where you're going to stand in another line or the same line that's now inside the building, and you're going to watch a TV show or a cartoon or something about the ride or something like that. But it makes it seem like you're not in line anymore, even though you are. If you go to Starbucks, you might be 4 people in the line, and someone will come down where the food is and lean over the case and say, what can I get started for you? It makes you feel you're not getting your coffee 1 second sooner, but it makes you feel like you are, because you feel like, oh, now they're taking care of me. I'm not just standing here waiting in line. Pizza Hut pioneered on their app that they would tell you, hey, your pizza's going in the oven. Your pizza came out of the oven. Your pizza's being sliced. Your pizza's going in the box. Your pizza's in the car. It's on the way. It'll be there in 8 minutes. From the time you place the order until the time you get it, you're not getting it 1 second sooner. But you feel like you are waiting less time. Your perceived wait time is shorter because you're being given information about what's happening. You're not just sitting there saying, I hope they got my order. I don't know if my pizza's ever going to get here. You have very information. Amazon does a great job with this. Your package is 10 stops away. It's still going to get here at the same time, but you know where it is now, so you feel like you have some control, so your wait time seems shorter. So on this, you're also going to be asked, what are some things that you can do to manage queue time? So you can figure out, what is the average arrival rate of the customers? Am I more busy at Starbucks at 7 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night? Of course, 7 o'clock in the morning. How often are people coming in? How am I going to give my order to my customers? That's why Starbucks started letting people serve themselves by placing the order and paying on the app. When they place the order and pay on the app, that saves the Starbucks staff from having to do that. It also lets you just walk in, grab your coffee, and get out. So you're out of the way. What's the average service rate? How are customer arrival and service times distributed? Am I really busy in the morning and then there's a lull? Then I'm busy again at lunch? How long will people wait before they either leave or they just say, this isn't going to be a good experience? And how can you make them wait even longer without lowering their perceptions of service quality? That bottom line is why Pizza Hut implemented that. That's why Disney shows you a movie. That's why Starbucks asks for your order when you're not even to the register yet. They want you to wait longer without thinking that you're having a bad experience. Okay, so we're going to talk about balking, which is you open the door to the Starbucks, there's 10 people in line in front of you, and you say, forget it, and you just leave. Or reneging is you're already in line, and you say, this is taking too long, and you leave. You need to know both of those for the test. This is the math on this. You don't need to know it. Okay. You need to know for the test what queue characteristics are. You need to know what queue discipline is. Queue discipline is the order in which customers are served. So am I going to say the first person that comes in is the first person that gets their order taken? Or is it going to be like at the airport or at hotels? If you have status, you get to go to a different line and you don't have to wait in that same line with everyone else because you're a loyalty member or something like that. So you need to understand that. Virtual queues are something that has come into use a lot, especially with things like haircuts, where they say you can go into the app and get yourself in line, and by the time you get here, you'll be at the front of the line. So we know you're on your way. You're committed now. It's good for the business. They're committed. They're kind of going to get a haircut now, but you don't have to actually come to start the process of waiting. You need to know all three of these. Multiple servers acting in parallel is a multiple channel. Multiple servers acting in series is a multiple phase. That means one person washes your hair and another person cuts it. Multiple servers acting in parallel is everybody's doing the same thing at the same time. And a single channel, single phase is basically first come, first serve. It's the simplest one. Whoever walks in the door, we're going to take care of you in the order that you get here. This is an example. If you forget which one is which, this is a little visual on slide 43 that'll show you which one is which. All right, you need to know that the way to manage queue times is to make perceived waiting time seems less. You need to know, this is on the test for sure, that the rule number one of service is that how satisfied you are equals perception of what happened minus the expectation of what happened. If you don't do that well, it is hard to play catch up. It's hard to get somebody to come back a second time if they have a bad experience. Things that you can do to make people think they have waited in line less to improve their perception is to keep them occupied, start the service quickly, relieve the anxiety by telling them what's going on and keeping them informed, group customers together, and design a fair waiting system. Nothing is more frustrating than when you've been waiting for 15 minutes for a table at a restaurant and someone just walks right past you and gets seated. Sometimes it's because they had a reservation. Sometimes your party is of 6 and they only have 2, or there's a table available. It doesn't matter, but it is very frustrating. So designing a fair waiting system is very important. This gives you some information about how distribution channels can be used. Entertainment is restaurant and entertainment elements, places that do like bowling and food, or like the movie theaters that'll serve you dinner while you're watching the movie, etc. I didn't put anything on the test about franchising or international expansion. You do need to know that the difference between what someone got and what they expected is the quality gap. That's on your test. You need to know the 5 dimensions of service quality, and there's more on the next slide, but reliability, that you're consistent. I go to this restaurant and it's always good. I go to this person to cut my hair, they always do a good job. How responsive they are. The ability that they have to make you feel that you can trust them, that's also on the test, and I put a star on the next slide. Empathy is that they are caring to you as a customer, and then the physical characteristics of the service. Is it clean? Were the servers polite? Is the equipment what I expected, etc. You need to know about assurance is about the skills of the employees, the training they have, the honesty, and the reputation of the company. So you need to know that one's also a separate question. All right, that's a lot. I know that was about 25 minutes, but that is the end of chapter 12, and that's the end of that test as well. So your test is over chapters 9, 10, 11, and 12.